Another reason why presence meditation is a good way to get acquainted with your energy is to learn that your subconscious is actually always on your side. And so a lot of the time, these thoughts that are coming up, they're incomplete versions of a solution to something that you're showing your subconscious by giving it so much focus that you won't resolve with in a certain way, because it is causing you whatever, it's occupying a certain amount of your energy. You're actually putting forth some of your energy towards that thing. And there's this great thinker, architect, futurist designer, Buckminster Fuller. And I like this guy because he shows up in X-Men, surprisingly, at the end of Days of Future Past, where Xavier is walking through the school. Right at the end, he pops his head into one of the classrooms, and they're discussing Buckminster Fuller theories. And I was like, whoa, I've heard of that guy. Whoa, I know his theory on thoughts. So guys, this is mainstream stuff. This is influencing some of our best storytellers, writers, some of the most popular stories and writing out there. It is underlying, it is in the seams and structure, it is in the underlying blueprint of a lot of these things. That's why it's cool, guys. It's not just spiritual hoo-ha, And Buckminster says about thinking, he says that thoughts will surface at a moment that will hint to you the behavior that you will prompt the behavior that you need to then, when that thought disappears, it's going back down to processing. It's reared its head enough to influence you in that moment, and then it's gone back down for further processing so you can give it the information required in your next steps. So what's happening when you're meditating is you're giving yourself time for these things to process. You're giving yourself time for a lot of these things to come up and a lot of these things to move through you, so that you're kind of designating, to a certain extent, influencing your behavior to come. And coming back to a more present state and just understanding that you are energy in the universe is a place of such bliss and deeper knowledge. And when we start to fashion what we understand as ourselves to be from this place, we're living in a more beautiful and lovely society. Guys, for me, it really started as well with Eckhart Tolle and his essence on presence. And I read A New Earth first, but start with either Power of Now or A New Earth, in which by the end, he's stipulating that actually the most perfect manifestation of reality will come from presence. It won't look different, but we'll have a different approach to it, and we'll be manifesting slowly our higher purpose and heaven on earth. And our only purpose is to be present as we are participating and contributing. And I think that is because presence is such an infallible and invaluable lesson towards energy management, that it is that easy, that the design of everything is that easy, that once you are just with your own energy, you are so loved in what you're created as, that you then step into perfect steps, no matter what they look like, no matter how much it doesn't make sense, no matter how easy they are, no matter how unfraught they are, no matter how upsettingly smooth they are, because you feel like you need to be struggling more. I mean, you can if you like to, or you can start to bring your energy back to yourself and realize how much energy you're using towards compensating the fact that you find it hard to sit with and find out who you really are and what you really feel like as a person. And guys, once you start to develop this practice and learn to become really present, you can start to actually do stronger work internally in terms of shifting things. Because another level to this stuff is presence is a good place to start. And I'm going to give this as a spoiler, to like a little treat towards what's coming next. But presence is also a good place for you to bring up what is, like I said, influencing your energy experiences, leading us to shaking off what is unnecessary patterns now around the compensating of that trauma we haven't released yet. And in my 8 hours that day, I was meditating for 8 hours, not consistently, but dropping in and out, 20 minutes, half an hour, and I didn't want to give my attention to my laptop, to my phone. I shut off from these things, to the TV, to the external factors that influence, that anything that represented energies that weren't my own. And I consciously kept coming back to myself. When I felt myself thinking about an outside concern, I was like, no, I'm trying to reconnect with myself to make decisions from an internal space. And so I kept closing my eyes and kind of just resting with my head up or sitting up, depending on how I felt. And eventually, one of my core traumas that I've mentioned on this program before started coming up, and that is my issues around control, which stem from this false belief that I had something to do, that my decisions influenced my father's death, because he had a stroke out of the blue, and I was in boarding school at the time, and I was developing an eating disorder. He came up and saw that I was developing an eating disorder, so already issues around control, and then he passed away shortly after. He had a lot of stress going on, but I had then developed this subconscious belief that my decisions can cause that much havoc, which sometimes they do. But if you get stuck in that level of control, that I felt responsible for my dad's death, then it's going to be a fear in all my decision making. And I felt this come up deeply. All these deep thoughts that had nothing to do with anything that I was trying to make a decision around started coming up by the end of the day, and they were purely mind. And I felt it like, okay, so I've been doing this practice called internal family systems, another level of meditation you can reach to, and I'll maybe talk about it in another episode with a friend who's a specialist on it. It's meditatively going in and feeling into spaces and feeling where sensation comes up when you have the intention of doing internal family systems, and then you focus in on that sensation. This is once you're a bit more keyed into presence and meditation and mindfulness, and then you let your imagination see what it witnesses in that place of the body with that sensation. There'll be a figure, there'll be an image, there'll be a thing, maybe a figure of a person, maybe a cartoon character, maybe three medicine balls. I've heard people have many different images. Mine was this kind of like rabbit with black fur who was just like snapping at me, wanting me to give in to its energy. But I was in such a place of presence because I've been meditating all day and just learning that I can feel, learning that I'm allowed to feel, learning that I'm always myself, that I'm always who I am, I'm always this beautiful essence of consciousness in a body, just experiencing in this lifetime. That when it came up, I was so aware of that I felt it, but I didn't become it. And I asked myself to detach. I asked it to detach from me, because that's how you work IFS, and you speak to these things and see what they want from you and see how you can foster a better relationship with them so that they don't have a achy requirement on your energy. And this was it didn't want to detach. It was too frantic. It just wanted to be felt. And so I stayed myself as I felt it, and I didn't feel it become me, but I felt its demands on my energy, and I looked at it and said, okay, I acknowledge you, I feel you, I know who I am underneath, divinely loved, and I share that love with you, because these discarded parts, sometimes they just want love to be transmuted, for the shadow to be changed into something else, for that thing to come under your control rather than trying to control you. And I felt it go back in, and I knew that was the beginning of a relationship to that aspect of myself. So guys, this is once you go the deep end and start to feel, really, really feel what imprinted in your body, imprinted in your history, imprinted in your mind, imprinted in your bones and muscles, because energy gets stored, trauma gets stored in the body. What is actually having a demand on your energy? And guys, you don't need to release everything in a lifetime, because I also now believe that our society is so beautiful that we will form a profession around anybody's level of patterns where they can excel, and where that profession will do the work for them as well. And in this particularly, I think of comedy. That's my fascination, stand-up comedy, because a lot of these guys, what they have in common is some kind of trauma they're transmuting through performance of things you shouldn't laugh at, but in their context really define their life, or really define how they feel, and they just need that to be accepted. And that's another level. I'll talk about energy in terms of standing in your power in front of an audience, in front of a crowd, and drawing them into your narratives, and drawing them into your story, and how truth is actually always love. It's potently love. Once you're operating from truth, in a place of presence and standing in your power, and you're saying things, in this case, comedy material that resonates with you, doesn't have to be right or wrong, it just resonates with you, and you can really call people into your confidence in that it is healing, and that, all our concerns are illusions, really. They just need to be expressed. We just need to know that we are the universe experiencing itself, and that is our divine right, and that it is always beautiful. So I'll get to that in another episode. I've gone longer than I wanted to. But guys, if anybody has any questions about this, they want to reach out, they have specific, this has been helpful information, but they need more information on specific parts that I've mentioned, please comment below. We can start messaging. I can tell you more about my experience with this energy work. We can maybe find if there's a healing that can work for you. And also, if you just know someone else, you've heard this, you've watched it, it's more in line with a friend of yours, they might appreciate having this knowledge, share it with them. Just spread on. I just want this information to be spread. I just want people to start to understand and be able to help themselves in the same way, with the same tools that have helped me. So we can all come together and raise each other up at this moment of coming out of lockdown and COVID. And I hope people are feeling better at this point. It's sunny in the UK. Restrictions are being lifted. I know a lot of people are finding their freedom and maybe finding it hard, given everything that they've had to face themselves in lockdown, to come out and feel like they can be part of a joy, or not knowing what really resonates with them anymore, knowing that they've had to face a lot of shame and stuff, and they don't feel confident about who they are, or whatever it is. Maybe you feel great, maybe you feel ready to unfold. Guys, just want to be able to help. So subscribe if this has been helpful. Comment if you have any particular concerns, things you want me to address in future episodes, things I've left out, questions that you have, and let's go from there to spread the love. So this is my first episode on how to manage your energy. This is Healer Holly, sending lots of love out there. Over and out.